Whenever I think about love in spiritual context, it always strikes me as being that it's a consciousness. It's a consciousness of love rather than a feeling of love. When I think about love on the human context, it's the feeling of love. It's the emotion of love and all the things that go with that. But at the level of soul, love feels like a consciousness. It feels like the feeling of God connection in my soul feels like love, which feels a little bit like joy. So the consciousness of love. And kindness or gratitude feels like how we practice that. So how we bring that consciousness of love into action, into what we do every day. Gratitude feels like the way of doing that. And the more of that consciousness of love that we have inside, the more automatic and effortless that gratitude becomes. That's my experience of it. The more that I could feel that love connection, that divine connection in my heart, the easier it was to feel grateful for whatever was happening in my life, even if it looked like a disaster. When I had that consciousness of love connection here, I always had a space for just being grateful for, either being grateful for the good things that were happening, even though something terrible was happening, or being grateful for whatever disaster was happening because it was teaching me something or it was giving me something else. So gratitude feels like that expression of that. And it also feels that it works both ways. So that if we're feeling like, I don't know what that love consciousness is, I don't have that feeling in my heart. When we start to practice gratitude, it can bring us to it. Either one will bring us to the other. So if we don't have that consciousness of love, or we don't have that feeling of love inside, but we start practicing gratitude for little things that we have. And it can be the most ordinary things, like that's the loveliest cup of tea that I've had so far today. And it could be your first cup of tea today. Yeah. You know, we can find and be creative in our ways of how we practice gratitude. When we really drill down into it, we can start being gratitude for the clothes that we're putting on in the morning, for the toothbrush that you have for brushing your teeth, or the nice warm house, or the alarm clock that woke you up on your fancy phone, or whatever it is. We can get really creative with gratitude because in our world, we live in quite a privileged way. Let's be honest about it. If we take it a snapshot across the world, we're in the privileged 3-5%. Yeah, even though it can feel like there's a big gap between us and that 1% of privilege, but we're really privileged. So practice of gratitude, from that point of view, ought to be easy to practice. But no matter where we are in the world, or no matter where we are in ourselves or our lives, we can always find that there's something to be grateful for, no matter how small. And that gratitude, as we cultivate that will bring us to that consciousness of love inside. It will bring us into that experience of how love moves everything. Love moves everything for us. If we think about love in that way. Love in terms of the energy that moves higher consciousness. If you read any experiences of, people connecting with, let's say, angels or spirit or things like that, or, even apparitions in different places, Knock, Fatima, Medjugorje, all these places. And when you hear people describing what it felt like when they were in that experience, they will always describe that experience of being so deeply loved. Without ever having known that we experienced anything like that, we know what it is. We know how to recognize that feeling because it's at the level of our soul. It's at that consciousness level. So when we speak about love and gratitude in a spiritual path context like that, it's always bringing us closer to what we recognize. It's always bringing us closer to who we are. It's always bringing us closer to that consciousness, no matter which way we're